Hey guys, so today we've decided that we're going to do some upgrades on our bathroom. Specifically, what we're going to be upgrading is the bathroom sink, the bathroom faucet, and the countertop, because the countertop that's currently here, if you take a look, has got the sink inset, and we are looking to move towards a copper vessel sink that sits up on top of the countertop. Obviously, with the hole that's there, we can't keep the countertop. Now, we've already taken some time and taken out some clips that were on the bottom of the sink. So now all we have to do is just kind of slide our faucet over and wiggle our sink up and right out of there. And we'll just get going on demoing this stuff out of here so we can get the new stuff in. So I've disconnected the screws from the countertop and taken off the water lines. So now all I need to do is just remove the faucet from the countertop. Had a little trouble with the water lines, but it wasn't really a big deal. But with the screws out, all I had to do was just pull that countertop right off. So let's get a new template made for that countertop. And for that, we went to our local home improvement store, where we picked ourselves up a piece of Aspen. It was 2 feet wide by 3 feet long and a ½ inch thick. And we picked Aspen because it's very lightweight, and we really like the aesthetics of it with the kind of cutting board look to it. Now, I used the old countertop as my template and just traced around it. And then I grabbed my circular saw and did some plunge cuts to get the longer, straighter cuts done. And then I came back with my jigsaw, where I got the more delicate curves and the smaller cuts to get it completely cut out. Now I needed to create an overhang lip to the countertop. So what I did is I took the remaining piece of Aspen, and what I did is I created a 1-inch wide lip that I cut out. And from there, I went and drilled some holes into the countertop and into the lip, put some dowels in there with some wood glue, and just simply set it down on top and glued it to the countertop. And after everything was dry, I made a quick trip to my friend's house to borrow his router to put a decorative edge on the outside of the countertop. I also borrowed his orbital sander so I could get back to the campground and just sand everything smooth. After everything was sanded, I had to go ahead and cut the new holes for the sink drain and the new faucet. Now we decided to just whitewash this piece of wood because we really like the natural color of it, and we used a clear poly. And as you can see, it turned out pretty nicely. So let's go ahead and get the sink installed.
I'm so excited. Woohoo! Here it is.
Installation was super easy. Just connect up the water and the drain lines and then just tighten everything down. I think it turned out really well. Now here's the before and here's the after. But wait, there's more. We're not done just yet. We ordered a new shower door from the Stowit company to be able to replace our current door, which is pretty hefty, and from what I've read, it weighs about 40 pounds or so. So we're going to be replacing that with a new retractable shower door. So let's go ahead and get this thing ripped into. Okay, so I've gone ahead and removed the shower door and the shower tracks that were holding the door on. And now I'm just going to be removing the remainder of the frame that exists for this door. Okay, so I've got the frame apart here. We just need to be able to take the caulk and separate the caulking that is in here from the wall, from the existing frame. So we'll need to work this down here and remove the, break that seal of that caulk there. Trying not to cut into the existing shower frame. It's going to take a little working back and forth. bit on that side and a little bit on this side here. Now, I was actually pretty surprised at the tools that you're going to need to do this job. First and foremost, you're going to need yourself a screwdriver or a power screwdriver. You're going to need a utility knife to separate all the caulk and kind of break everything loose. You're going to need some muscle, of course, and some caulk so that when you put everything back together, you can reseal everything back up. Oh, wow. That was a pain in the butt. But a little bit of elbow grease does the body good. With all the screws out, these side rails and the bottom rail come out really, really easy. Okay. And there we have it. One dirty shower that needs to be cleaned before we can put in the new shower door. And just like that, Lori swoops in and does a bang-up job cleaning up the mess that was in there. So now that's all left for me to do is to start caulking the holes shut from the old screws. Now that reminds me, I forgot to tell you guys you're going to need another tool, which is a caulk gun. Now make sure your caulk gun is a much better caulk gun than my old broken down piece that I'm using here. Alexa, put a caulk gun on the shopping list.
Caulk gun added.
Okay, so now that we have the holes filled with caulk from the old rail, the next thing to do is, I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but we had to draw a line from one side to the other, which is where the outside of the bottom rail is going to go. So our next thing to do would be to install the rail that goes on this wall here. All right, so now we've got our rail up in here. Next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we are plumb a little bit down. And we'll just flip this real quickly. Small spaces, people, small spaces. And it looks like it is level down there. So now we can remove the tape on the back side and affix this to the wall. Now I followed the same process in the front as I did in the rear, which is taking the rail, standing it up against the shower, getting the level, and then making sure it's all nice and plumb, and then drawing a line down the side of it. Now it's important because when you take the rail off and you take the adhesive tape off the backside, you want to make sure that when you put it up against the shower, it lines back up nice and plumb, just like you need it to be. Give it a few good firm presses all the way up and down the rail, and you should be all good to go. With everything stuck down, now we can focus on cutting the top and the bottom rails to fit the size of our showers. So I basically just took a multi-tool with a metal blade on it to be able to cut through the aluminum racks, and marked my spots, and it went through it just like butter. With both rails cut, now I can move on to installation. Now these rails basically just snap into place, And then there's a little plastic pin that gets inserted into each side on the top and the bottom to kind of hold it in place. And once they're snapped in, you're all good to go. With everything adhesive down and snapped into place, I added a couple of different screws and some strategic places just for some added strength. But now it's time to test out the shower, and then we can move on to the finishing steps, which is just caulking all the gaps to make sure we can get everything watertight. This bottom rail was a bit tricky to get the caulk in there because it's in such an awkward place and there's a wall right up against it, but we got it done. And here's the finished product. I will say that this door operates so much better than the one that we had in here before. The old one would get jammed all the time, come off the rails. This one is self-squeegeeing, hypoallergenic. We love it. Just to finish things off, we went ahead and replaced the towel holder and the toilet paper holder to match the sink. And then we went ahead and we framed in the mirror that was already there with the same colors as everything else. All right, so now that the bathroom is done, you'd think we would just be done with our renos, right? Not the case. No, we're going to be doing our kitchen sink as well, because the current sink that's in there is a plastic undermount sink, and we've been having issues with it, with caulking around it, and the formica on the countertop starting to flake around it. So we're going to be removing that sink and putting in a new drop-in stainless steel sink. So as you can see, I've just got started on it. I've removed the faucet, and next thing to do is to take the screws out from the underside of the sink and get it removed. All right, the sink is out. So let's go ahead and dry fit our new sink in. And as you can see, it's a pretty good fit. I do need to do some trimming underneath to make sure that it's a perfect fit. But before we go any further, I'm going to want to go ahead and put the drains in each side of here and get that all prepped before I cut that hole, because I don't want to have to do that from the underside. Now that both drains are installed, we went ahead and fitted the sink in, and now all I need to do is reconnect all of the drains and check for leaks. And finally, what project would not be complete unless you had a couple hiccups and things didn't fit just right? Of course, none. So the project was no different. So there was a couple things I needed to adjust, but I think it all turned out just great. Now, if you like this video, you may want to check out our other renovation videos on our channel. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And lastly, make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified anytime we drop a new video. So until next time, we'll see you between mile markers.